Hello, everybody, and welcome to the kickoff of our family Zoom sessions for the spring 2021 semester at Georgia Southern. Still getting in the habit of saying 2021. I don't know about you, but we really appreciate having you this evening. We're very excited to have some guest presenters with us from our Office of Financial Aid. We can tell and we know that this is a topic that our supporters want to talk about, engage with, and may have some questions. Before we get started this evening, I do want to share a couple little things with you about our department. Some of you, we see familiar names coming back to our Zoom sessions, so welcome. For those of you that are new or maybe joining us watching our recording later on, welcome. We hope that this information is helpful for you, and keep in mind that we'll have some others happening throughout the semester. So if you don't know, my name is Allison Lyon. I work in the Office of New Student and Family Programs out of Admissions. I'm the Assistant Director. And for all of our family members at Georgia Southern, I am your point of contact. I'm here to support you as long as your students are enrolled at Georgia Southern and you may need that assistance. Sometimes it can be really confusing to navigate the college experience when you aren't the one that's registered for classes, but wanting to support your student. So know that I'm always here, can answer any questions that you may have. But one of the places I want to direct you is a website. Now, I know you're probably thinking, wow, I have to remember a lot of websites. Let's talk about how easy it is to get to this one. So on the main Georgia Southern website, right up at the top, you'll see where it says Parents and Families. That's what I need you to remember. So if you go to that page, the landing page has a ton of resources for you about different departments, ways to contact them, quick information that you may be seeking. But on the left-hand side, you'll see quick links. And there are a couple of things I want to highlight here. So first and foremost, one of the things offered out of our department is the Parent and Family Association. So that is an association of our supporters. It does have a cost to be part of the association. It's pretty low, but you get some great benefits. You get local discounts. You get scholarship opportunities for your student. So you have to be part of the association for your student to be eligible for those scholarships. And you also have a network of other supporters that are there to connect with and be there for you. And they even do some discounts at some of our tradition events that we host on campus and volunteer their time to us at Georgia Southern. So I encourage that you learn a little bit more about the association. You can click on their link. Their websites are actually completely being overhauled as we speak and should be done by the start of February. So if you can't find something and you have questions, we'll make sure at the end of today that you have our contact information so you know how to get in touch with us. The next will be the family weekends and events. So somehow you found out about this Zoom today. Would love to hear if you drop it in the chat. That'll come to our panelists, how you might have heard about this event today, whether that was an email, a newsletter, a friend, maybe Facebook or our website, whatever that may be. But if you click on that, it will show you all of the monthly Zoom sessions that we have scheduled for the rest of the semester. And it will also show you any of ours that were pre-recorded. So we have some of those from our fall semester, some really great departments that you might want to listen to how their Q&A session went. So definitely check those out. But then the most important of all, in my personal opinion, we are doing a spring family weekend this semester, March 5th through the 7th. It's going to be virtual because we're in COVID times. So we have to pivot and adapt. We're really excited to be bringing a lot of great opportunities for you. Some events could include some happy hours, if anybody is interested in those, coffee chats, trivia, maybe a cooking demonstration, and more. So definitely keep onto that website, log on. We'll have some registration live in February. It's going to be free. And the first group of people that sign up will get a free t-shirt mailed to them. So can't hate that at all. So now that I am done with my shameless plugs, because I could go on for days, I do want to introduce to you Blake Mercer. So Blake is with us from the Office of Financial Aid, and he's going to be guiding us a little bit today through a presentation. I do want to share with you how you can engage with us in this session today. So you can leave us a message in the chat if you'd like. Please know that that just comes to panelists. However, we do ask that as Blake is presenting or things just pop in your mind and you have questions, you can utilize the Q&A feature that's at the bottom of your screen. That will show to all participants, and you do have the ability to like that question that someone else asked so we can see that that's a priority in the room. Now, we know that financial aid can bring some pretty private information sometimes. So keep in mind, we're going to be dropping some information for you in the chat of financial aid's contact information. If it's very specific to your students or your situation, we really encourage that you reach out to the department directly. You might notice that you are muted and you do not have your cameras on, but you can still engage with us through the Q&A and chat feature. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to Blake and we will do a Q&A after his presentation. So take it away, Blake.
Thank you, Allison. So I'm going to get this started. My name is Blake Mercer. I'm Assistant Director in the Office of Financial Aid. We're going to talk a little bit about financial aid today. So let me share my screen with you guys. All right, can you guys see my, well, are we good, Allison?
we can see your screen.
All right, great. All right, so I'm going to start off with financial aid and you. So I'm going to start off with the HOPE Scholarship, which is a state-based scholarship. It covers about 90% of tuition based on the 2020-2021 standard tuition rate. So that's about, that's actually $167 per credit hour, so up to 15 hours. So if, say, you're taking 15 hours, it would cover $2,505. To get this scholarship, you would have to have a 3.0 cumulative GPA from high school. And while you're in college, you have to maintain that 3.0 to maintain that scholarship. Now, a thing about the HOPE Scholarship is that it pays for 127 attempted hours. So keep that in mind if you do withdraw from a class. If you withdraw after the add or drop date, that will count as one of your attempted hours. To get this scholarship, you have to, of course, fill out the Georgia Futures application or a FAFSA, or both. I recommend personally, especially if you're a freshman coming in, go ahead and take care of that Georgia Futures app and that FAFSA, just in case you don't plan on using federal funds, but just want to use HOPE. HOPE has different checkpoints. They're at 30, 60, and 90 attempted hours. And we also check HOPE at the end of every spring semester. You can regain HOPE at 30 hours, 60 hours, or 90 attempted hours. And move on when ready, credits do not count towards HOPE hours, nor do dual enrollment. Do they count to that 127 attempted hours? Next is the Zell Miller Scholarship. Now it covers 100% of tuition. So where you had HOPE covering about 90% of that tuition, Zell Miller is going to cover that full tuition. So you're looking at, for Georgia Southern right now, it's $182.13 per hour. So you're looking at around $2,732 per semester. Now keep in mind that if you don't take the full amount of 15 hours, it will prorate for however many hours you are taking. So to get the Zell Miller Scholarship, you have to have a high school GPA of a 3.7, and you have to score a 1200 on your SAT or a 26 on your ACT. While you're in college, you need to maintain a 3.3 GPA. And just like HOPE, the checkpoints are the same at 30, 60, 90, and also with the same with the attempted hours. And also you either had to have a Georgia Futures application or a FAFSA on file. Next, I'm going to talk about a little thing that a lot of us don't like to talk about, but sometimes it's what I call a necessary for a lot of people to go to college, and those are loans. So there are two different types of loans. There is a federal loan, which is from the federal government, and then there's a private loan, and those are non-federal loans from lenders such as banks, credit unions, or state agencies. So what I like to tell everyone, if you're taking a loan for the first time, know where you're getting it from. Usually by completing the FAFSA and going through the process, you have the opportunity to qualify for certain loans, which I will talk about. Those are federal loans. So there's two different types of loans you could qualify for. One is subsidized, the other is unsubsidized. So there is a difference between the two, and I'll go into detail on that as well. So for students coming in as a freshman, you're going to qualify, but this is by doing the FAFSA. Now keep this in mind. You'll qualify for at least $5,500 as a freshman, $6,500 as a sophomore, and as a junior and senior level, you would qualify for $7,500. Now, keep in mind that these totals are split per semester. So as a freshman, you would get $2,750 each semester. And for Georgia Southern, one of the first things you have to do is before you would even go and after you've done your FAFSA, you then go into our website and you would go through and actually accept your loan first. Once you accept that loan, you have to do entrance loan counseling, which is kind of it gives you an idea of how you're borrowing, what your borrowing habits can be, what your estimated payments will be, and gives you an actual idea of understanding a loan. And then you also do a master promissory note, which is your promise to serve. Kind of like it's not like your loan agreement form. Let's see. So here we go. So when doing the FAFSA, you do have opportunity to get 2 different types of loans depending on the information you input on that. So one is a direct subsidized loan, and they have a slightly better terms for students with financial needs because they're available to undergraduate students who have a financial need. Now, based on the information that you input, that's how much you would get in a subsidized loan. For example, say you have an EFC of 0, which I'll go over EFC a little bit later. You would qualify for the full amount of a subsidized loan. So you're looking at around $3,500. And if you remember from that freshman total I told you, you would qualify for $5,500. So that would still leave you with $2,000 in unsubsidized loans. So the thing that really makes them, good, like the difference is while you're in school at least half time, the U.S. Department of Education will pay interest on a direct subsidized loan, and also for the first 6 months after you leave school, which is your grace period. Now, then the other type of loan is a direct unsubsidized loan. So if you can kind of guess, subsidized loan paid for the U.S. government paid for it while you were in school. Unsubsidized loan, they don't do that. So you accrue interest while you're still in school. And the cool thing about these is they're actually available to graduate students as well, and there's no requirement to demonstrate any financial need. Now, you are responsible for paying the interest. Now, you don't have to pay that interest while you're in school, but of course, once you fall below halftime or you've graduated, that's when you would start paying those loans back. But one rule of thumb that I always tell my students is, at the end of every year, go ahead and figure out how much interest you've accrued and go ahead and pay that. If you can do it each semester, it will save you when you start repaying your student loans. There's also something called a direct plus loan. So say you got your financial aid package, you notice that you're a little short and you might need some extra money. There is an option, which is a plus loan. It's commonly referred to as a parent plus loan because usually as dependent students their parents will do it for them. Now, there is a grad plus loan as well for graduate students. So the thing to know about direct plus loans is the U.S. Department of Education is your lender. You must not have adverse credit history because they will do a credit check on it. And the max amount of a plus loan you can receive is the cost of attendance. So you would have to check with your financial aid office to see the max that you could receive, which is us. So a lot of people ask about parent plus loans is, do you have to make payments on the loan while you're in school? So when you're filling out your application, you can request a deferment. And so you won't have to make payments while you're in school or enrolled at least half time for 6 months after your child graduates or leaves school or drops below half-time enrollment. If the school your child is attending requires you to submit a parent plus loan at studentloans.gov, which is now studentaid.gov, you'll have the option of requesting a deferment as part of the loan process. So if you don't make a deferment for your loans to start paying it, then parents will start paying back the loan usually immediately. So what if you have adverse credit history? Can a student still receive it? Now, there's a couple of options for that. There's an endorser. So say your credit's denied, you can get someone to act as an endorser on your behalf and then go from there. Or if you have like some circumstances that cause that, you would have to contact the U.S. Department of Education well, you would contact our office and then they would make the call to see if your situation is worth warranting. Excuse me right quick. Now there is an option if you do, if it's denied, we can offer you an additional amount. As a freshman and sophomore can get up to $4,000, and then juniors and seniors can get up to $5,000. There are also additional loans, which is the Georgia Student Access Loan. You can apply for that at georgiafutures.org. And then there's also our alternative loans such as Sallie Mae, Wells Fargo, Discover. These are private loans that you find out on your own. They contact us and let us know that you have applied for it, and we apply it to your account. So let's say you've gone the FAFSA route, you've completed your FAFSA. The first thing that you will get is something called a SAR. Sometimes it comes in the mail, sometimes now they're doing it a lot in email. And your SAR is your student aid report. So on the SAR is the EFC, which is your estimated family contribution. So it's not necessarily the amount that your family will end up paying. It's kind of a figure that the government believes your family is able to contribute based on the income, assets, and the number of college-age students that you put on your FAFSA. So just keep that in mind. Now your EFC is usually, once you complete your FAFSA, it will give you an estimated EFC. And then once you get your SAR, you should have your official one. Next, there is something that we call verification. So verification roughly affects about 30% of all students. And what happens then is our office has to review your file. And it doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It's sometimes completely random when you are selected. And it's just more of verifying the information that you put on your FAFSA matches the information that that was on your, say, for example, your tax information, or maybe you said there was a few people in your house, but then that number changed and you went back and made some changes, and then that could have flagged you as well. We use a very awesome product that actually makes verification quite simple. So you get notification on your Wings account, you log in through there, it'll list out the information that we need, and then you're able even from your phone to take a picture of the certain documents and send them in. It's that easy. And we also have verification counselors who are here to help in case you have questions. There's also, these are 3 different things that are usually on the student aid report, which is a data release number. There's a loan summary. So say that you've taken out loans before, you should be able to see that on your loan summary from your SAR report, and also Pell Grant eligibility. Now let's talk about some fun stuff. Let's talk about free money, which is one of my favorite things. So find a scholarship as fast as you can. Like, something that I recommend to people is go ahead and showcase, start writing down some stuff that showcases like what makes you unique, what makes you special about yourself. You've done community service, whatever makes you you. Go ahead and kind of get an idea, write about, the things you've done in school, write about yourself, really, like I said, showcase yourself. And then once you start looking for scholarships, you kind of have like a baseline of what you wanted to write about, and then start tailoring it down to the scholarship. So there's merit-based scholarships such as the Hope Scholarship and Zell Miller Scholarship. And then there's also scholarships that are geared towards particular groups of people, for example, women, graduate students. Now, the thing about scholarships is they can range, I've seen them range from anywhere from $100 up to, the cost of someone's tuition. So really, it's what you choose to apply for, but I say the more you apply for, the more opportunities you can have to actually get some free money and not have to pay them back. So there's different places to find out about scholarships. You can go to our website, and we have links to a couple of scholarship search engines. There's also, if you're still in high school, or if you're coming, you can always check with a local high school, the U.S. Department of Labor's free scholarship search tool. libraries, foundations. Check your community too. And your parents' employers could also offer scholarships as well. Some companies, for example, I know Taco Bell, they offer a scholarship, and I do believe Chick-fil-A does as well. All right, so some tips for FAFSA filing. All right, so Georgia Southern School Code, if you haven't filed, just so you know, the priority date for the 2021-2022 year, so that'll start for the fall. The priority date for that is February 1st. So if you haven't, I would recommend you go ahead and do that now, just so you can get in before that priority date. Make sure you enter your name as it appears on your Social Security card. For the 2021-2022 FAFSA, you'll be using your 2019 tax information. It's a lot of numbers, I know, but just remember it's usually 2 years prior. If you're able to use the Irs Data Retrieval tool, I really suggest using that because it makes the process, it streamlines all of your information straight from the IRS to the form and leaves you with less error. Like I mentioned earlier, there's like a 30% of applicants who are selected for verification. And don't forget that every October 1st, the new one opens up. So that should be something you remind yourself to do every October. And then I have just a little checklist here. The website to do it is fafsa.gov. If it's your first time going there, you'll actually see the option to create a user ID. You'll do that. You enter your personal information as it appears on your Social Security card. You can choose up to 10 schools on there, but hopefully everybody in here is going to be coming to Georgia Southern, so you would just choose us and put 001572, which is our school code. And always double check the information that you're putting there, because especially if you're going back and doing it for, like, say you've done it once before and you're going back in, just in case you've moved, some information's changed. You want to make sure that all the information is correct before you click submit. So there's something that I do want to mention, because there was something when I was going through, we always talk about FAFSA, we talk about other things, but then once you get into school, there's something called Satisfactory academic progress. So if you want to keep receiving federal aid, you have to make a certain, you maintain a certain academic progress. So basically there are 3 criteria that we look at. The first one is grade point average. So we look at that at the end of every term, and it's based on your cumulative GPA. So to maintain SAP for Georgia Southern, and this is actually a federal regulation, you have to have at least a 2.0. Now, if you're certain undergraduate education majors, you have to maintain a 2.5, and graduate students have to have a 3.0. Next is credit hour of completion, also known as pace of progression. So there's also that, and then that basically you want to be attempting, you want to be at least at earning 67% of the attempted hours that you are registered for. And then the next one is max time frame. And that is a, you want to make sure that you have, that you're taking the classes you need to, and you're not withdrawing or changing your major too much, because you're only allotted like around 150% of time for your educational program. So just keep that in mind. And just a couple of things too for when you get to college. The transition from high school to college can actually be very difficult. So it's important that you understand your goals that you have and make those a priority. There are also many things you should be careful about, but nonetheless, college should be fun and ultimately help you shape your career. So I have a few little things just from our office that we would like to pass on to you guys. Always remember to budget. Be financial literate. Know your constraints beforehand with respect to money. So you're coming to school, you're on your own, budget yourself out. Budget not only with your time, not only with your money, but also budget your time. Make sure you set time aside to study, to take a mental break, and really take care of yourself. Going into that, time management is very crucial, because sometimes you're going to class, sometimes you're working a part-time job, and then you have extracurricular activities, you have friends, pets, you have so much stuff. So don't forget to take time to make sure you put your priorities in order. Understand that the system is not your enemy. Don't try to work against college authorities and professors, however much you're tempted. If you talk to somebody, I guarantee you that they're going to be able to help you solve your problem, and you'll end up finding somebody that you can always go back to when you need help and you really find a friend. Look for internships and hiring. Plan on getting an internship if you don't have one already. Practical experience always looks great on a resume, and it can help you get a step above your peers. So sometimes when you start college, you might be a little confused about your major. If you're not sure about that, don't worry, you still have the option to change it. But during that freshman year, go ahead and think carefully about the possibilities. So then by your sophomore year, you can at least make a solid decision and go from there. Utilize your advisors, whether they be your academic advisors, your student success advisors, your financial aid advisors. Utilize them. They're here for you. And yeah, you research, also utilize research facilities in the library. They're part of your student fees. So why not utilize the things you're paying for? I know I spent a lot of time in the library during my undergraduate career. It is your second home. Maybe not during a pandemic right now, but it was also known as Club Hindi. So set goals. Also, college is where the most open-minded learning of your life will happen. It's important to set clear goals for each class you take. Try at least one extra class per semester if you can. But remember, like I said, never burden yourself. And then stay healthy. Physical exercise increases blood flow to the brain. It helps with your mood. It helps you sleep. It reduces stress and anxiety. Exercising a few hours every week will help you increase alertness and effectiveness, which can lead to faster learning. It's very important that you eat right, exercise regularly, and stay fit. This is our contact information. We're on the Armstrong campus, we're on the Statesboro campus, and we're actually on the Liberty campus as well. You can email us at fin8@georgiasouthern.edu or finlit@georgiasouthern.edu. Just make sure you always include your name in your Eagle ID, because sometimes there could be somebody other with your name.
Awesome. Thank you, Blake. And I know since we have a lot of family members that are in this session, I think some of those tips that you hear that Blake shares, right, are good things to take back to your students, and making sure that, especially now for some of you, you might have first year students that have just begun with us, and they might be starting to talk to you and be seeking some advice, and some of those tips that Blake shared will be really helpful. So what we're going to do at this point, we've had an amazing individual in the back end who's been answering some questions for you all in the chat and the Q&A feature. I would like her to introduce herself as well, because she also works in the financial aid department, and she's going to be helping serve on this panel in case you have other questions. So I'm going to introduce Samantha Hutto. So Sam, you want to do a quick intro?
Thank you, Allison. As Allison said, my name is Samantha Hutto. I'm Associate Director of Financial Aid, and I'm primarily located on our Statesboro campus, but I do travel as needed. And I work with students on a variety of topics and families as well.
Great, thank you. So at this point in time, I know it's bubbling up inside and you've probably got some burning questions, and I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask those. So just a reminder, you can drop those into the Q&A feature, and that will prompt up so that way I can read it to our lovely financial aid staff that are here with us this evening. In the meantime, while I give you a moment to ponder, the biggest questions that you could have, I do want to share some of the great questions that were being asked earlier, and Sam is just super fast and was answering them, which is great. So in case you did not see those, we did get a couple questions asking if Hope prorates as well. And Sam shared that the Hope Scholarship does prorate by paying at a rate of $167 per hour. 167, I probably should say that, not like $1. I know we had some questions about summer financial aid, and when that process happens. I don't know, Sam or Blake, if you just kind of want to detail that a little bit about what they can expect for those that maybe are already enrolled in summer courses.
So for the summer semester, students are actually automatically assessed for aid. So there's no additional application or information that they need to turn in. Starting in February, we start pulling a list of students that are registered for the summer term, and then we automatically review them. We offer them any remaining aid that they may have, or for some students, they may have used up certain types of aid, but they may have other options. So then they are sent emails providing them additional options to help them cover that summer balance.
And again, shameless plug for future semesters, but if you join the Parent and Family Association, they have scholarship opportunities too. And I really appreciated that Blake mentioned, you all as supporters, if your mom and dad, because I know our supporters are wide ranging, but looking at your employer and seeing what opportunities that they may have, just because it's not in front of your face for your student that maybe there's an opportunity of scholarship, I would ask. Always a great thing to see if there's opportunities. I even joked I had a knitting scholarship in college. The things you can find sometimes, you'd be surprised. Great. Some others that I saw, I think I got one. So let me go in here. If a first-year student, freshman, enrolls and completes 27 hours, it's very specific, after fall and spring semester, is HOPE eligibility for fall sophomore semester calculated at that point, or would it only be calculated after the 30 hours are enrolled and completed? And panelists, that is in the chat if you need to look at that question one more time.
So the way that the HOPE regulations are written is that if a student attends full-time for a semester, so if they graduated, say maybe last May in 2020, if they were full-time for either the summer of 2020, the fall of 2020, or for the spring of 2021, then their GPA will be assessed at the end of the spring semester. And so they will have to have a 3.0 at that point in time. Now, if a student does lose the HOPE scholarship, because there's always that opportunity to lose it, they would have an opportunity to re-earn the HOPE scholarship once they've reached 30 attempted hours. So if your student happens to lose the HOPE scholarship at the end of spring with that 27 hours, it's possible that they could take a class or two during the summer, and it may be enough to help them earn the HOPE scholarship back for that fall of 2021.
We're definitely getting a couple questions, and so bear with us. Just a reminder, it's probably best to put your questions in the Q&A feature instead of the chat, because then we can monitor those a little bit better, but we're going to keep up, so don't you worry. Since my son was homeschooled, we are having to apply for HOPE by mail. Will we need to do this every semester?
No. So it depends on if your son was actually homeschooled through an accredited or through a non-accredited program. So if your student was homeschooled through an accredited program, then you can send the packet of information to the state, and they can go ahead and do the assessment, and then they'll let us know the student's HOPE eligible. If your student was actually through an unaccredited home program, then there's actually something called the HOPE Retro Scholarship, which means after the student has attempted 30 hours, if they have a 3.0 at that point in time, then you can submit the application to the state to receive kind of back pay for the HOPE scholarship for a couple semesters.
Great. And I am seeing some questions just about the Parent and Family Association and the scholarships. So as I mentioned, I'm glad that you're interested. As I mentioned earlier, those websites are currently under construction. So yes, there is a chance that you might be trying to find some information and you might be hitting a dead end. So what you can do is send us an email at familyprograms@georgiasouthern.edu, and we'll make sure to get you some information. They don't run that process every single semester, but we'll make sure we share some information with you about when they do their scholarship process and what you can anticipate if you are a member of the association. So sorry about that. Another question we got: I've completed the FAFSA and received confirmation that it has been accepted. My student sees it on their Georgia Southern portal and all looks fine, but I keep getting emails saying the student needs to complete the FAFSA. I don't know what to do to check to see if there's any additional steps.
So it's very possible that we may have a FAFSA for the 2021, 2022, or it may be for the 2020, 2021, because both age years are currently active. The emails do usually have that, but it's sometimes rather small to see. If you happen to look at that and there's still some questions and some concerns, please reach out to us so that we can take a look at it to help you.
Another question I see, can you still get a subsidized loan if your student is going to use post 9/11 GI Bill? I'm getting
Yes.
some head nods.
Yes, you could. Yeah.
Great. All right, jumping back into the Q&A feature. When will the financial aid be awarded for the 21-22 year?
So, Sam, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. So for new students, it's happening as we speak, correct? All right. And then for continuing students, we'll start that process usually in the summer.
It's usually in late May after we have assessed their spring grades.
Oh, those
Sometimes it's
spring grades.
Memorial Day holiday weekend.
Yep, that's how we enjoy our weekends.
It's a lovely time. We're training student staff during that weekend too. It's a busy weekend. So I did see earlier, remember we got asked the question about the son that was homeschooled and having to do Hope by Mail. Will they have to do it every semester? They did clarify non-accredited dual enrollment is I think what they were referring to. So I don't know if that changes anything you addressed. The next question, if a student has Zell but drops below the 3.3 GPA requirement, do they remain Hope eligible if they are maintaining at least a 3.0?
Yes, our wonderful Hope and Zell Miller specialists will actually convert you from a Zell Miller recipient to a Hope recipient. Now, something that is pretty cool though, if you just lose Zell for that first time and you get above a 3.3 at one of those checkpoints of 30, 60, or 90, you can gain your Zell Miller back.
Right. One thing I also can't reiterate enough for your students, having worked in another department that worked very closely with financial aid when it came to satisfactory academic progress, which we talked a little bit about in this presentation. Sam's chuckling a little bit because she probably knows why I'm saying this. When they have to go through and appeal, if they decide to appeal their SAP, that can be quite a process. The first thing, they really need to check their email. And stay on top of it. A lot of our students, and I can't blame them, the semester is done, grades have posted, and they're like, sayonara, I am done until the next class starts. However, that's when we're communicating with them. So just make sure that they're watching their email really closely. They will have to engage most likely with the Academic Success Center as well if they're appealing that SAP. So just making sure that we're getting all of their financial aid squared away as much as we can before classes start, because we know they like to take a break in between semesters, but we do share really important information in between there. If a student gains a 3.3 while in school, but initially only earns the Hope, will it transfer to a Zell?
No, unfortunately, you can only obtain Zell Miller out of high school. So you have to have that 3.7 out of high school, or either that 3.7, the 1200 on your SAT, or the 26 on your ACT.
Great question. Y'all are knocking these out of the park fast. So give a little bit more time for everybody to drop any questions that they still have, because we have a little bit of time and we're here to answer them. I do want to ask if you can share a little bit. I know, like most departments with the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to all pivot really fast and start looking at also meeting our students virtually. And so can students interact with you virtually, and how does that look if they're requesting appointments that way?
So you can actually go to our website, and you can actually request, you can actually do it on there. And so it's quite simple. So if you just go to the financial aid homepage, scroll down a little bit, it's right there.
And it doesn't have to be the same day.
Yeah.
You get to choose the time that's most convenient for you. And so if students and parents are in two different locations, if you decide on the time that's best for you, then you can actually do it together with a counselor.
I also strongly encourage you make sure in conversations, of course, if their student is interacting there in person and gives permission, but FERPA, making sure that your student has completed a FERPA waiver. If you are wanting to have conversations with the institution about your student, acknowledging that it's not because we don't want to not talk to you. We do want to talk to you, but we can't speak about that specific student situation, any of their record information without that FERPA waiver on file. So the student does initiate that through their My Georgia Southern portal, and they say what access can be given to who and what type of records. Please know, we say this in orientation a lot. Some of our parents are like, you must do this. And I understand if you're helping pay the bills or whatever it is, for sure, making them do it. They can also pull that back at any point in time. So maybe having more intentional dialogue about the access and why and the importance of it if that is something that you're seeking, just so that way you don't have to deal with them yanking it back later if they so choose. We don't see that as much anymore, but that's always a point just to bring up that they technically can do that with their FERPA waivers. Any other questions? No? All right. Well, what we'll do to wrap up real fast, first off, thank you, Blake and Samantha, for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. We hope you know, supporters, that all of our offices at Georgia Southern, but including financial aid, really want to see your students be successful, are there for you if you have questions, and we can get you connected if you don't know the right person to speak with. But please make sure you check out that Parent and Families website that I mentioned for you, where it has tons of contact information about offices like financial aid, maybe the Mercer, if you're looking at doing types of payment plans outside of financial aid, you can look up that information. But also, us and family programs, we're here. So if you need us, our email address is familyprograms@georgiasouthern.edu. We are also on Facebook. I have to share that, and that's at Georgia Southern Family Programs. And so make sure you give us a follow. We share a lot about our events. We also do Let's Talk Tuesdays, where we just want to get to know you a little bit. So don't hesitate to reach out. We'll also make sure that this recording is published on our website, and we'll ask our presenters if we can share their slides as well on our website. So you'll be able to check that out as well. So thank you all and have a great evening.